Welcome to ATN Society Watch. This is a program where we ventilate societal issues, give them aggregate attention with a view to propose solutions that will benefit humanity. And today on Society Watch, we have a number of issues. First, from Rivers State University, where police calls for vigilance as robbers attack female hostel. Still on Rivers State University, court set date for ruling on rape of female students by lecturer. And from Unizik, students charge VC to release panel report on sexual harassment. And from Kano State, government approved 700 million naira for indigenous BUK fees and 854 million naira for weddings. And lastly, on the students' loan, NANS decries stringent conditions for accessing loans. These are the issues we'll be looking at today, shortly after this break.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable,
human trafficker.
Honorable, they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds. I am in the way.
front line, across the ocean, to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought a very family.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficking. You are a human
on them. They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds. I understand.
with the EU, but
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Society Watch on Atlantic Television Network, and we have joining us today the chairman of the Student Support and Student Initiative, Orwell Harry. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's look at our first issue from UNIZIC. Some students of the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, on Thursday staged a protest around the school over alleged sexual harassment and intimidation in the institution. The aggrieved students, mainly females, called on the Vice-Chancellor of the institution, Professor Charles Esimone, to release the Professor Obi Ogwejiofor panel report, which indicted some members of staff. One of the students, who gave her name simply as Ogorna, said the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Charles Esimone, set up the Professor Obi Ogwejiofor panel to look into cases of sexual harassment when he assumed office. But before then, other panels had been set up that tried and equally indicted the culprits, yet nothing was done. Why are they not being punished or sacked? Why is the VC sitting on and hiding the Ogwejiofor's panel report? Even the married women among us are not free from harassment, she added. However, when contacted on the development, Emmanuel Ojukwu, the media aide to the VC, said, "We have a sexual harassment committee headed by a professor, and UNIZIC is very strict when it comes to protecting students. If there is any case of sexual harassment, it will be treated very strictly, and there will be consequences. First and foremost, there is no protest going on. Maybe there are some students silently agitating over one issue or the other. All cases of sexual harassment that were known to the institution has brought the culprits involved before the panel and cautioned them by giving them letters of warning and removing them from any official position they were holding. The reason for this is that the institution wanted the students who made the allegations to come forward, but they refused, so that is the hindrance. You know, the university has to be careful so that it does not miscarry justice, because if the lecturers concerned go to court, it will be a liability on the school. The issue of sexual harassment in tertiary institutions has been very, very alarming. But we have a very serious issue here, because while there is these allegations of sexual harassment, the university, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, have set up a panel to investigate. The students are saying, well, you have not told us the report of that panel, and nobody has been punished, nobody has been dismissed from work because of the findings of that panel. But a spokesperson to the VC is saying, well, we understand that we have this investigative panel set up and we are dealing with this strictly, but that no student has come out to own up. I mean, I was sexually harassed. And we know the implication of all of these on students. Students are always very careful, anything that would indict them. Now, let's look at it, first of all, from the angle of the students. That the reports...
Harassment are things that can be tied to most male lecturers. Now, one of the reasons is particularly not necessarily because it's a norm or something that shouldn't be a social anomaly in the universities, but sometimes, in all sense of honesty, some of these students do make themselves available for this happening, and even the dean of the Faculty of Law, who is supposed to be protecting students, and not just protecting, but fighting against such happenings, is also a perpetrator. It's really pitiable. But then again, coming to think of the fact that students are being unwilling to show up, now, I do not blame them solely, because in as much as they may be coming out to say we need students to come out and attest to the fact that they've been sexually assaulted or harassed, there is always an implication. You don't want to be the face. Nobody wants to play the hero. Because you might just be there and, yes, this has happened, and boom, you're the villain. Everybody would be like, are you the only one? Are you the first? Did it start with you? And all those things. And of course, you coming out to call on a lecturer, it's you against the management, it's you against the lecturer, it's you against other students.
And even other lecturers.
Yeah, and you against other lecturers, because one of the things these guys do, if you have an issue with a lecturer, right, and he doesn't want to do anything to you directly, they are friends. and they have friends and friends and friends of friends. So
students are demanding that the reports of that panel be made public.
Yes.
I don't know what they intend to do with that, but you think if that report is made public, it's going to let them have justice?
Well, it depends on what the report says, and what the report says would be based on the evidence that has been made established. Because, of course, the court is not a Father Christmas that would give judgments based on illusions, based on imaginations, based on ideas. Of course, they said that this happened is not enough for a judgment to be passed against or in favor of a person. So I think what these students should do right now, in a bid to facilitate and foster what the panel would come up with, should come out regardless. It's going to be a lot, but if any of these students can take it up as a risk, if they can take it up as a burden to just show up, and it might not necessarily be a visual testimony. You could send recordings, you could send anonymous messages.
All right.
Just do well to give details, precise information, call the names of the lecturers, and if it's something that is true, they can't deny these things. If you have enough evidence to prove, right? So I think the students should come out. If they don't come out, then these issues will continue to go on. And
well, coming out again, just like all you've explained, will still depend on rather the fact that the school have to assure them that nothing is going to happen to you and your studies. Well, let's look at our next issue on the students' loan. The President's National Association of Nigerian Students, Usman Barambu, has called on the House of Representatives to amend the Students' Loan Act to allow all Nigerian students who desire loans to have access to them. This is as they ask the House to include students' representation on the board and capture polytechnics and colleges of education on the board instead of only National University Commission, which was earlier captured. Speaking at the Legislative Summit on Students' Loan and Access to Higher Education held by the Ad Hoc Committee on Thursday in Abuja, Barambu said students' loan is for us, and in the board, no students' representation on the board. The board only captured NUCs headlining the Polytechnic and Colleges of Education. They should all be inclusive for fairness and equity. Also, the method of payment should be looked into, as most students are not able to find their ground financially 2 years after graduation. It should be revised to 4 to 5 years. The Act also gives no room for forgiveness in cases of death, especially for security officers. That should also be looked into. The issue with the students' loan bill has really generated a whole lot of controversy, with so many people coming up with so many arguments, some valid ones, and of course others would definitely be not too valid. But let's look at the fact that, on the board of the committee for this students' loan, there are no students. And the question is it really necessary for us to have students, knowing very well that every student in every higher institution has a time frame within which they will be in school, within which they will be termed as students? So should students ideally be on that board? Harry?
All right. I don't think the fact that students are not on the board is the problem. Yes, because if indeed students should be on the board, it would cause a challenge of who should be the student. Which university in Nigeria should it come from? Should it come from NANS? If it's coming from NANS, is it coming from the national? Is it coming from the state? If it's coming from the state as a result of its representation of the state universities, which chapter in the NANS will it be coming from? So will this student be an accounting student? Will he be a law student? Will he be a banking and finance student? Okay, so what level should the student be in? Should he be in 200 level? Or should he be a final year student who has gotten an experience enough? So these things are actually questions that should be asked. And of course, there is no secretariat for there's no secretariat. So we're not saying there's an agency set up for this. It's the bank as it is addressed in the act. It's the bank. So where will this student make reports to? And in case of challenges, let's say challenges where, okay, I'm in River State and I'm the representative of students, and there is someone in Ogun State who can't get the loan. How does it get to me? How do I ensure that in his university there things are made available to him? So these are serious challenges. So personally, I think the fact that no student is on the board is not a problem. No, I don't think it's a problem. What I think should rather be the case is what has already been established. That's the Dean of Student Affairs. That is the DSAs of every institution. Now, DSAs usually serve for a very, very long period of time. And of course, for a student to acquire a loan, they have to apply through the Dean of Student Affairs of their respective institutions, who would then take it to the bank, and following their compliance with every other requisite or necessity would get the loan on their behalf. So I think it's not a problem actually, and we shouldn't. I'm a student, so we shouldn't probe that fact. Come to think of it, the issues that should be highlighted here and the things that should actually be probed is not who is on the board and who is not on the board. We're talking about the requirements here. We're talking about the fact that it's almost impossible to even attain the loan. These are things that should actually be looked at. I would want to go extensively by detailing every information, every requirement before a student gets this loan, and let's see how impossible it is. But I think we should talk about the other issue, and when we're done, I would demystify these things by pointing out the sectional references and its problems. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We just do hope that much more than a student being a part of the board, that the NANS is going to be more concerned about the ease of getting access to the loans. Of course, it's going to be beneficial to Nigerian students. But let's look at this very issue from River State University. Armed robbers Thursday invaded some hostels in the River State University in Port Harcourt, dispossessing students of their valuables and assaulting 2 female students sexually. It was gathered that the criminals had invaded female hostel D late Wednesday night, operated at will without interruption. The development had caused uproar as female students took to protest within the campus, decrying repeated criminal attacks in their hostels. One of the protesters said the boys come into the hostels from the backside where our laundry room is. They fingered some girls, raped some, and took many phones and laptops. After all, the school security is telling us to wait for what? If we are their daughters, will they allow this to happen to them? Another of the protesters said there is no way you will say these criminals came from inside the school. They came from the outside. If you are coming from outside that late, you have to bribe the school security with just 1,000 naira. They will take 1,000 naira, then they will allow you inside the school. If they actually broke through the school security, it then means the school security is involved. There are gunshots. There is no way the school security will claim they did not hear. And the Mar 3 police is just here. But they did not do anything. Confirming the development, the State Police Public Relations Officer Grace Iringe Koko, a superintendent of police, quickly said normalcy has since been restored in the institution. She said the River State Police Command, having received a report of an armed robbery attack at the River State University female hostel, the CP directed the DC Operations Area Commander Port Harcourt and the DPO Nkbolu to provide adequate security on the campus. The River State Commissioner of Police, CP Nwoye Polycarp Emeka, has called for vigilance and urged students, parents, and the school management to take advantage of the police control room numbers for reporting suspicious activities. I remember very well my days as an undergraduate, and people strongly believe that living on campus was highly secured because some of the menace, some of the criminal activities that will probably be experienced outside the school campus cannot be said to happen on campus because there's said to be a level of security on campus, and so all of this cannot happen. But to the extent where we seem to have repeated cases of robbery attacks, especially on the female hostels in the Rivers State University. I don't know what this is of the school security system, but I'm so concerned about these young girls on that campus. What is your take on that?
Well, first of all, I would like to start by saying the Rivers State University management has, over time, been proactive in ensuring our security. I'm a student of Rivers State University. I've stayed in a hostel myself, and I know quite well that there's been a whole lot of security measures. That's a very commendable part of what our management have done so far. Because you see that at night there are security patrolling going from faculty to faculty. They have their patrol van going from one end to another to ensure that there's safety. I know for a fact because sometimes I go to 9th class, and while I'm walking through the faculty to get to through other faculties to get to the Faculty of Law, sometimes I'm being stopped and they'll be like, "Where are you going to? Where are your books?" And I'm going to the Faculty of Law. All right, be safe. So we see these things happen. Severally, I've met these guys, and I know for a fact that they have been proactive. As a matter of fact, as a result of that, last year September, my initiative, the Students Assistant Students Initiative, SASI, we actually even visited the security team to give them some security gadgets and accessories like reflectors, torchlights, and the rest of them to add to what they already have in ensuring that there's security on campus. Notwithstanding, this development is not recent. It didn't just start happening. As a matter of fact, we can't say those guys that came to school yesterday developed the momentum suddenly and decided to carry out such an attack on the female hostels. So I'm going to tell us a few before we get to yesterday.
Okay.
So we resumed 23rd of February this year, first semester, right? After resumption, basically the hostels are now opened immediately. So for a while, there were a series of holidays, and then coupled with the electioneering process, we're given about 3 weeks holidays, right? Now, when we formally resumed and were settled in by April, was when these things started happening. I remember very well that the first hostel that was attacked was hostel C. Yeah.
Still a female hostel.
Still a female hostel. It's all been in female hostels. It was hostel C. It was the early part of April, and it was room 16 that was attacked. But they didn't succeed initially. They broke the louvers, pushed them down, and then told the girl inside, one of the girls inside the room, that is room 16, to bring the phones of the other persons. And then she was brave enough to hide behind the bunk and screamed. So they ran. They came back again not quite long. They attacked room 15. There they were able to get some phones. And around 25th or 26th of April, they came again. And then they entered into the female hostels, and that was room 43. I'm saying this with these details because I did my findings. I asked questions. I have friends that are in the hostels who have made these informations available to me. I know some girls who are even traumatized as a result of these things. And it's very appalling. So that was room 43. And then they collected some of their phones, and in the process of escaping the boys and and stuff. Some of them were even injured. But within this time interspace, within the early part till that 25th or 26th, they had made an attempt in Hostel B. Hostel B is also a female hostel, right? But then it was just one boy who went through the fence and tried to get some stuff, and he couldn't. He left. Now, this semester, they've also attacked. This, we heard of yesterday's. We didn't hear of day before yesterday. Actually, there was an attack day before yesterday, just day before yesterday, in Hostel B, where they saw a guy in their bathroom. Yeah.
And now, when all of this has been happening, what has the civil authority said? What has the CSO said?
Okay, so here's the thing. I know for a fact that, irrespective of what's been going on, it's a mandate on our school security to ensure that students are safe. So, the initial instances of these things, of these attacks, the female students made contact with the CSO and other members of the security, who as well came around, checked these things, and they stayed around for a while, even sometimes at night, to ensure that these guys don't come back. But personally, I think the reason why these things are consistent is not necessarily because we can't put it only on the failure of the security system, but I think they also have intels, because I don't know how they would be able to know the right time and the right days to show up. So there has to be a mole somewhere who's giving them this information. So I wouldn't want to say the school security has entirely failed.
No, I want to agree with you on the fact that they must have intels. I mean, why would they know when the school security is not on ground? But that, again, should let the school security know that we need to up our game.
Yes, that's the thing. Now, this calls for urgent attention. Because if there are other modalities that are being put in place, whether or not they have a mole, they would have been apprehended. Take, for instance, if we have working CCTVs.
Right.
Take, for instance, if we have more equipped security personnel. Because yesterday, the guys who came, they came with guns, and our school security personnel do not have guns.
Of course not.
You don't expect someone to come with bare hands to fight someone, to fight a set of people who are with guns. So that's like one thing we should put at the back of our minds when we want to blame these guys. The school security, so far as they can do, is to protect us against social vices and cult clashes and some of these petty stealings. They are not armed enough to open fire with armed robbers and stuff like that. So that's like a thing that should be looked at.
But there's also meant to be a police presence on campus.
Yes. There actually is a police presence on campus. Yes, that's quite the fact. Notwithstanding, I don't think they are usually there at night.
Okay.
Yes, I don't think they are usually there at night. Because, so far as I know, at night, it's the school security that patrol, not even police officers. Yeah. So, back to yesterday's. From the information I gathered, they got in around 2:48 a.m. Yeah. Now, this is a lot. From the beginning of what I just said, I've been able to highlight a lot. Okay, first of all, this means they were inside before our school gates were closed. Because they usually close by 12.
Okay.
So if they close by 12, it either means they wouldn't be allowed inside, or they must have been allowed inside, or they were already inside to carry out this attack. Now, if they were already inside, it probably means they had hidden their accessories in a car or in a hostel or somewhere. Now, I don't want to point fingers to any hostel or anybody, but I know for a fact that there are some hostels that, okay, take for instance F&G hostel. It's usually not locked at night, right? So it could possibly be that they may have access. Now, why I wouldn't even want to go down there is because that's where the man-o-war presence is.
Okay.
Yes, so the eyes of the man-o-war officials are always there. I stayed in F&G hostel, and I know quite well that we hardly have security issues. Because it's a boys' hostel, and it's a hostel where we know that most of the poorest boys are there. Most of the boys who would not take nonsense are there. So it's very unlikely that they must have come from there. But the big question is, when it happened around that time, calls were made to the security officials in school who would have been proactive, who would have promptly called external security, because we have the Man 3 police station just by the side, just in front of River State University. If prompt response or prompt measures were taken, it means police would have been in the university even before those guys had finished their operations. But no, it didn't happen like that. So they broke in through their laundry, they entered inside. Some of the pictures I sent reflected those things. They got into the first room and assaulted the girls, slapped some of them, beat some of them, collected their stuff, and moved into other rooms.
It's really very unfortunate, and I think as much as the university owes the students the very high level of security, they need to up their game and ensure that, this ugly incident doesn't repeat itself again. The image of the university is really at stake. Well, this is a much we will take on this program. Thank you so much, Henry, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, our viewers, for being out there. And my heart goes out to all the female students in the Hostel D that were affected and those who were actually victims. I just hope you become strong and better out of this. I am Anita Obari. If you missed anything, you can follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter, Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress.